Degenhardt wide open, buries the triple.
Najee Smith with another three.
25 feet out, that's good for Shaver.
Boise State wins it.
Boise's waited a long time for it, 237 days to be exact. Winter sports season, so fittingly it starts to snow. Mountain West Network for South Dakota State and Boise State. With the sharpshooter Nick Duncan, Chris Lewis here with you. What a matchup to begin the season for Boise State, hosting an NCAA tournament team from a year ago.
What a battle we have here in Boise tonight. Two well-respected teams in their conferences, both coming off championships in the regular season as well as the tourney, so we're in for a battle here tonight.
Expectations high for both teams. On the side of Boise State, it's because of the returners, Marcus Shaver and Tyson Degenhardt, both all conference a year ago, taking on larger roles.
Degenhardt, he sparked the team after their 5th game, started the next 29 games going 24-5, Mountain West Freshman of the Year, and well-deserved. Shooting 42% from the three-point line. I think that was the best by any freshman in NCAA. So you'll see a lot of improvement from him after 1 year in the league. And then obviously Schaefer, the definition of clutch. Coming down the stretch last year, was a go-to guy, shooting the threes from beyond the arc in some clutch games. And he's electric. Off the bounce, he's going to create a lot, getting into the paint, kicking out, helping his teammates out.
Those were contributors for the Mountain West champions from a year ago, Boise State. South Dakota State, the Summit League champions from a year ago, and they were incredible. Perfect 18-0 in their league. See some of the numbers there. They've already had a game this season. On Monday, a loss in overtime to Akron. So they're looking to get their first win in game number 2.
As you can see that the stats, 44% from the three-point line. Not only was that number 1 in the conference ranking, but also number 1 in the NCAA ranking as well. And that 52% from the field was 2nd in the NCAA. So offensively, they're going to bring it to the Broncos tonight.
Great matchup. Boise State, South Dakota State, 2 conference champions from a year ago. The action is coming up next here on the Mountain West Network. Good to have basketball back in Boise. It's Boise State and South Dakota State. Boise State game number 1, South Dakota State game number 2. The Jackrabbits on Monday lost to Akron in overtime. These fans ready to go. See this starting lineup for Boise State. Zabuzo Abo, Luke Milner, joining some regulars for Boise State in Shaver, Rice, and Degenhardt. As we're underway, South Dakota State gets the opening possession. Jackrabbits from the Summit League. And Detlinger tried to lob it up there, and it hit the front of the rim on the pass. So Boise State, program record for wins and conference wins a season ago. Max Rice, great space. Degenhardt tries a deep 3. Milner the offensive rebound. Here's Abo, the newcomer, transfer from Texas Tech, off the front of the rim.
Few jitters to start off from both teams, but getting in the rhythm. Chabuzo first shot for the Broncos in a conference game, so we'll see how he goes.
South Dakota State making their return to Boise. They were here in 2018 in the NCAA tournament where they lost to Ohio State. Rice penetrates, cut off, fades, short on the jumper, and in and out of the hands of Abo. Out of bounds for the Jackrabbits. So South Dakota State 30-5 last year, 18-0 in the Summit League. Took home the championship. NCAA tournament loss to Providence in Buffalo. Dentlinger, a whistle, and an offensive foul. So Matt Dentlinger, who's an excellent post player, 62% from the floor a season ago, commits the turnover.
Great defense here by Degenhardt down low. drawn another charge just like he did last year.
One of the nation's leaders in charges drawn, but then an offensive foul the other way. We're going to get Chibuzo Abo, the Texas Tech transfer, the junior from San Diego. So away from the frame of reference on that one. William Kyle III, a freshman. For this experienced South Dakota State team. Corner three, they can shoot the long ball, and Charlie Easley connects on his first.
Great ball movement there down the baseline, find the open player. Last game, 4 from 15 from three-point line. The Jackrabbits really want to come out and start shooting that three ball.
Easley didn't make one for a player who shot 50% from three a season ago. Mayo with the pull-up long-range J. Doesn't hit anything.
A few nerves coming out right now. As expected, the first game of the season. Obviously, Jackrabbits coming off their second. Quick sub here for the Broncos. Najee Smith coming into the game.
Zeke Mayo giving the Jordan shrug. That time it was the less sarcastic shrug, as he literally doesn't know what happened on that release. Preseason All-Summit League members. You mentioned, Nick, Najee Smith in for the first time for Boise State in the game's first substitution. Rice creates space, long on the jumper. Arians. Last season, over 8 points per game. He shot the three well at 49%. As a team, 49% from three. They led the nation in long-range bomb percentage. Dentlinger operating in his office. Najee Smith with the defense.
A few good post moves by Dentlinger. Got to continue to feed him down the post.
Boise State's offense slow to get going. Who could break the regular season seal? Milner will try. No. Of course, Boise State had an exhibition against Carroll last week. Face-up jumper. Dentlinger connects.
See, it's a big emphasis from the Jackrabbits getting inside the Dentlinger. 61% from the field last game, 6 from 8 last game against Akron as well.
15 points in the overtime loss. Trying to get Milner established, locking horns with Kyle III. Arians with the reach, lefty hook shot, back rim and off. And season's almost 4 minutes old without a Boise State points. Meanwhile, the Jackrabbits, efficiency, the name of the game last year for their offense, 86 a game. Arians gets a step on Shaver. Mayo tries for three, bullseye. South Dakota State, an 8-0 lead in the early going. Shaver, contested long ball. That one hits the heel. Kyle Skies for the rebound.
You can feel the tension coming with Broncos still 0 points. Trying to force out some shots here.
As they say, you just need to see one go through.
Just one.
Arians, again Shaver defends. Carves inside, bounces Kyle through his hands. The 5th year Portland transfer. Marcus Shaver turns the corner. What a rejection for Easley. Can't get around the edge, and we get into our first media stoppage. And it's all South Dakota State's. The hot shooting Jackrabbits playing strong defense. And Boise State still looking for their first point. Early season jitters for Boise State combined with some strong South Dakota State defense so far.
With 3 key players in the offseason leaving with key jab, especially in A-Code and Amush. You know, a lot of new players on the court for the Broncos to start. So jitters out. It's hard to come off a Carroll game where they didn't really run much offense. It was all just flow offense, attacking the rim. You'll see the Broncos here maybe set up a play coming off the inbounds here, try to get a really good shot and get some points on the board.
First chance to see Muhammad Silla, the Detroit Mercy transfer, the senior from the Ivory Coast, coming in off the bench. As Boise State still looking to break that seal. Shaver inside, draws contact.
Great drive by Schaefer. That's what they got to get back to. A few quick threes there, start the possession off, but right there, getting in the middle, and I know that's a focus point for Coach Burns and Coach Rice, getting that ball into the paint area, creating wide open shots for outside or right there, foul, go to the free throw line.
Matt Mims call for that foul. The officials, Tony Padilla, Mike Reed, Mike Cyphers, and Shaver hits the first free throw, and there you hear the applause from the crowd here at ExtraMile Arena. The first points of the season come from the line. Shaver, 77% free throw shooter a season ago. That was a conversation throughout the season. The free throw line for Boise State as a team, 65% from the stripe, and that rose at the end of the year. It hovered in the low 60s for a good chunk of the season.
See Boise State trying to up the tempo, little three-quarter court press. Not something you usually see from Leon to start the season so early, but trying to get some up tempo.
Mims, who picked up that foul, kicks out as Boise State pressuring on defense. Moores with just 5 to shoot. Here's Mayo. Back to Moores. Loses it. Boise State steal. Dagenhart ahead of the pack. Athletic catch, spins, and there's the first field goal. South Dakota State the first 8, Boise State the next 4. Pull up missed by Arians, and Boise State looking for more.
See the energy just change. Little three-quarter press from Coach Rice to start, and easiest offense is off the defensive rebound and out.
Dagenhart, the unanimous Mountain West Freshman of the Year. A season ago, Smith for 3. Whistle on the rebound, and it stays here. Muhammad Silla established position on the rebound, and a foul on the Jackrabbits.
Coaching staff from Boise State really hopped on during the week. Aggressive rebounding is one of their key attributes they really want to focus on 80% of the time. 3 steps towards on the offensive end, boxing out the defensive end. You can see there from Silla.
Foul on Moores. Rice fouled on a 3. The reckless closeout, and the senior will head to the line.
Great offensive play there by Coach Rice. Getting Max ready. Best way to get your shot going, free throw line.
So the son of the head coach. First of 3 goes. So you have Boise State. You mentioned the trio of players who moved on. Emmanuel Laycott, Abu Kijab, Mladen Armush. You have Max Rice, who goes from off the bench to in the starting lineup. Same with Lucas Milner. Marcus Shaver, Tyson Dagenhart remain the staples. But still, there's a lot of minutes left on the board.
Lots of minutes, lots of points left on the board as well. And obviously the transfer from Texas Tech coming over as well, Agbu. Lots of points there, and Max Rice has got to step up. Dagenhart 1 year in with some experience. You'll see him be a lot more confident this year.
Mims hits the 3, and that ends a 7-0 run for Boise State. Matt Mims, 46% shooter a year ago from 3.
Coming off the Akron game 3 or 4, starting off right where he left off.
Then South Dakota State with shooters all over the floor. Dagenhart, inside-outside game, draws the foul.
As I mentioned before, after the first year, getting a lot more experience. Obviously coming off, the first 5 games of not starting. You can see Dagenhart's put a lot of effort on over the summer. I know Coach Wright and the coaching staff has really harped on the work ethic, him getting in the gym, shots up. And I think he's going to be a vocal point this year, obviously in the non-conference, but heading into conference as well.
Charlie Easley on the foul for South Dakota State. And on that same note, Nick, you hear a lot of people talk about that first full summer from your freshman year to your sophomore year. How big of an opportunity for growth is that?
It's huge. Obviously, high school to college is a huge step for any basketball player in the NCAA, but And once you get your feet set, you could see last year really came on, unanimous Mountain West Freshman of the Year. Big jump you can see from the summer. He'll put a lot of hours in this year. I know obviously he shot 42% last year from the three, but I know he's putting in a lot of effort and trying to do a lot of on-the-ball moves as well, not just catch and shoot.
Silla, his arms were not straight up. They moved down. The crowd doesn't like it, but it looked like it was a good call. And a couple of free throws coming up. His hands went back when the whistle was blown, but they were not completely straight up at Matthew Morris, a redshirt freshman from South Dakota, the Wisconsin transfer, hits the first of two. Quite a decorated high school career for Matthew Morris. He's a Gatorade South Dakota Player of the Year 3 times. How about this? All-State 5 times in high school.
5 times.
5.
Hits the second one here.
South Dakota State by 4. Boise State season opener. South Dakota State game number 2. 2 NCAA tournament teams, 2 conference champions from a season ago. Smith, fade, yes.
See the Boise State offense finally heating up, a little bit more rhythm, flow to it, getting that ball inside. Really got to start working inside and then work their way out to the three-point line.
And to that note, 2 really good teams from a season ago return a lot. And that one is off of South Dakota State. Defense by Max Rice on Charlie Easley.
It's really where Boise made their bread last year on the defensive end. And I know the coaching staff harp on top 25 and KenPom defensive adjusted efficiency, and that's something they're continuing on this year. And that's really where it started last year, and if they continue to do that, they'll see good things.
Easley with the closeout on Rice this time. Those 2 were locking horns on the other end. Shot clock down to 10. Smith once again in the post. Last year, 6-man loses it. Broden lean into the game for South Dakota State, taking over one of the big spots. Wasn't used against Akron in the season opener. Spinning, Easley stumbles, recovers, can't get it to go. Shaver, ball in his hands a little bit more this year. Creative, carving his way to the basket.
Talked about pregame, his electric drive off. He's quick, he can get inside the paint, and that's a focal point for the Broncos this year, getting him inside the paint, creating for himself or others.
Tied at 13, and Mims gets fouled. Shaver was in his way, and Matt Mims will strut to the stripe up next. Boise State's defense creating some offensive opportunities. Still under 25% shooting in the early going, but all tied up at extra mile. Last year's nation's leader in three-point percentage, South Dakota State, shot just 4 for 15 in their opener, so you know they were due.
They would do 26% last game, coming out this game. They've really been great at setting up their players, getting inside the paint, great kick pass, and Mayo 1 from 5 last game. You knew he was going to heat it up this year, coming off a season shooting 41% from the three-point line last year.
They made 9 threes a game, shooting 45% from 3. That's their recipe for a lot of wins. 30 of them to be exact.
As they did. 18 in a row in conference. That's impressive.
Mims, front rims. They had the nation's longest winning streak heading into the NCAA tournament last year at 21 games. It ended with a loss to Providence in Buffalo in the opening round. I can say for a fact I had them in my bracket, South Dakota State winning that game.
You did?
Against Providence, yeah. So I had belief.
I love that. Great team, 18-0 first Summit League team to ever go undefeated in conference. It's quite a feat.
Which leads to this great matchup to begin the season. Very rarely do you see two champions in their conference, is going at it. That's a newcomer, William Kyle, with the rejection. Ahead of the pack, Detlinger turns, fade away, butter.
Beautiful move, defense to offense there. Kyle setting it up with the rejection, pushing the ball.
Jackrabbits by 3. And a steal, Tanner to Slaw. South Dakota State led by Eric Henderson, 4th-year head coach. And won a share of the regular season title in the Summit League each and every year he's been the head coach. Mayo from distance, too strong. Milner gets the contested rebound.
Mayo's the go-to guy today with Luke Apple, one of their main players from last year, 6th man of the year in the Summit League, missing today's game with an injury, unfortunately. You'll see a lot of the ball go through Mayo.
It's a foul against Shaver when Charlie Easley got a little too close, and that's the second on Charlie Easley.
Broncos just slowing it down a little bit. Obviously, with some of the new players coming to the program, getting acclimated into the system, it's going to take a little bit. Getting the rust off their shoulders right now.
One of the things you mentioned, Nick, important to note that Luke Apple, you mentioned, not in the lineup today for South Dakota State. 2nd straight game, out with an injury.
It's tough for the Jackrabbits. Obviously, they would have loved to have him last game in this game, shooting 60% from the floor last year. 9 points, 3.6 rebounds. Hopefully he can come back for the Jackrabbits.
Arians penetrates inside and draws the contact. Mohamed Silla.
With Apple out, you'll see Alex Arians as well step up. Started all the games last year, all 35 of them, playing 27 minutes per game. He'll be stepping up here tonight in Apple's absence.
Alex Arians, a senior out of Madison, Wisconsin. He, like many, hovering around the 50% three-point mark last season, averaging 8 a game. This is his 116th start.
That's a lot of starts right there.
4th most in program history. 2 for 2 on that trip to the line. And South Dakota State has scored the game's last 5.
See if the Broncos can get it from side to side, get the ball moving, try to create some gaps and areas to penetrate.
Big lineup in for Boise State with Smith, Silla, Vagenhart, and Nganga, who takes a 3 on the first touch from the corner.
Thought maybe tonight with the Jackrabbits, tallest guy 6'9", might have seen Broncos maybe play some small ball, but not with this lineup out there.
Big ball. A big 3 ball from the corner. Tanner to Slaw. And a timeout, Boise State. 8 in a row for South Dakota State. Tanner to Slaw only had 6 minutes in that opener against Akron. Looked comfortable there.
It's going to be the game plan for the Jackrabbits coming in tonight. Obviously, last game, as we stated before, 4 from 15 from the three-point line. But I've got some shooters on the floor being able to penetrate and kick out, and that's what they've done to start the game here.
8-0 run over the last 2:05. And 4 for 7 from 3. Boise State still has not made a triple. Just 20% from the floor.
Coach Rice right now has got to be talking to the team. Just trying to slow them down, calm the nerves, get through what they've been practicing, the emphasis for the game. I know one of them's getting paint touches, getting inside and out, creating good shots. I'm sure that's what he's trying to tell the boys to come out and execute on the offensive end.
There's Eric Henderson, 2-time Summit League Coach of the Year. 68-23 record on the Jackrabbit sideline. Out of the timeout, Boise State. South Dakota State and scored the game's last 8. Same lineup in for Boise State. Shaver pulls from straight away. Dentlinger turns down the three-point opportunity. Mayo, table setter, great bounce pass and trying to throw it over everybody as William Kyle III gets fouled. He climbed the ladder and was looking to detonate.
That's impressive. You can tell the difference between the offense from the Jackrabbits and Broncos. Wow, that's some athleticism right there. But ball's moving between the hands of the Jackrabbits, creating open lanes. Kyle, that's impressive.
Silla call for the foul. First free throw, nowhere close. William Kyle III, 14 points in the opener against Akron. The most points for a South Dakota State freshman debut since 2019. 1 of 2. 9-0 run. See if Boise State can get Sadrak and Ganga going, the highly touted freshman, highest ranked freshman recruit that Boise State has ever signed. Catches it there, gives it to the experienced Shaver. Silla operates in the post, defended by Kyle. Shot clock at 8. Shaver has to get busy. Degenhart rolls, pass tipped, Jackrabbit steal. Mayo for Dentlinger, uses the up fake to lay it in.
Jackrabbits really causing some problems for the Broncos on the defensive end. On balls, they're really hedging, forcing the Broncos out. As you can see, they're playing above the three-point line. Really hard to create really great offense, attacking the rim when you're playing 2-3 feet outside the three-point line.
Smith pivots and finishes.
Smith's one of those guys we spoke about before with the 3 key. Broncos leaving from last year. He's going to find some more minutes this year, and he's the energy guy for the Broncos coming off the bench.
And that ends an 11-0 run for South Dakota State. And a great reach. Shaver gets the steal, zooms past Mayo, no foul. Just threw the ball in the air, and here comes South Dakota State. Kyle up with it, off glass and through.
Coach Rice always used to say, don't turn over a turnover. Trying to go in for the foul there, Schaefer led to offense for the Jackrabbits.
What could have been 2 for Boise State turns into 2 for South Dakota State, up 11. Tough angle, there's the foul.
Gungo there getting inside using his length.
So Sadrak and Ganga will head to the line, but it's all South Dakota State's. Use an 11-0 run to open up a big lead in Boise. The Jacks and the Broncos, Summit League champs, Mountain West champs, 2 NCAA tournament teams. South Dakota State on the road to lead. Boise State season opener, South Dakota State game number 2. Chris Lewis, Nick Duncan with you. You see a lot of season opening games against lesser competition, anything you can to get the season off on a predictable, positive note. Very rarely do you see a matchup like this, quality team against quality team. As a former player, do you kind of like this?
It's tough. It's very surprising seeing this. Obviously, I know Boise State's having some troubles getting some teams in. They're a hard team to play, obviously, at home especially. But, first game to start the season with the Jackrabbits coming in, obviously coming off an NCAA appearance last year. 18-0 in conference. Definitely a hard way to start the season.
Well, starting a Boise State career is Sadrak and Ganga. Hits both free throws for his first 2 points.
See a little bit of pressure here from the Broncos. I'm sure Leon trying to speed up the Jackrabbits a little bit, force them out. It all starts from the defense for the Broncos, just like last year.
Last year amongst the nation's leaders in defensive efficiency. Key members from that group, though, 3 solid defenders in Akot, Kijab, and Armush out the door. Speaking of door, and maybe somebody left the door open as Mims' shot is way wide. Shaver lobs, Milner on the floor. But the Jackrabbits over the limit, so the 1-1 coming up.
Bit of energy here coming from the Broncos. See on the defensive end, really pressuring, pushing the Jackrabbits up, and really flows through to the offense. And just like last year, and I know we harp on last year, but that's really how the Broncos went so well defending the ball and creating these opportunities, and that just flows through the offense with the energy and the flow.
Front end. Lean grabs the rebound. Lean back in as Matthew Moores picked up that last foul, his second. So we might spend the last 6 minutes on the sideline of this first half. Pass to nowhere. Degenhart reads it. Degenhart with 4 points. Pulls up, looking for 7. Contested rebound. Lean is fouled. A stun look for Chibuzo Abo, and for Abo, it's foul number 2.
There's the
It's
foul.
actually his third foul, excuse me. So Abo, 3 fouls in his Boise State debut.
Coach Rice gambling a little bit there, trying to get a few minutes here, get his confidence up a little bit, but 3 fouls before the start of the first half. He'll be off for the rest of the half, and he'll have to play some conservative defense to start the second half.
See how the Broncos fare with one of their starters in deep foul trouble. Arians draws another whistle.
Jackrabbits doing a really good job on putting some pressure on the defense, driving these lanes. With Apple out, Arians really needs to step up, and you can see him getting to the free throw line for his second time tonight.
Nganga, a freshman from Angola, with the Angola national team over the summer in the FIBA qualifiers. So didn't get as much run playing with the guys here in Boise as a lot of the newcomers, so he's still making the adjustment. Arians. Front end goes. The 6th-year senior, Alex Arians. First half that's been controlled by South Dakota State. This game was tied at 13. Since then, a 14-3 run for SDSU.
Broncos starting off the game, shooting 22% from the floor, 4 from 18. Great pass there by Schaefer.
And Degenhart, right place, right time. Great reach. Najee Smith. Shaver bobbles it and is fouled at the 3-point line. And it's the 9th foul against South Dakota State. So the 1-and-1 coming up for Shaver.
Defense to offense. Another turnover created by the Broncos defense, pushing the line. Schaefer to the line for 2.
Second foul on Zeke Mayo. So Mayo with a couple, Easley with a couple, and Moores with a couple. Shaver, 77% from the line last year, swishes the first.
Looks like Coach Henderson is leaving Mayo out there with 2 fouls.
Shaver perfect on a pair. Boise State 13-3 at home last year. Of course, it wasn't all smooth. A lot of people can remember the ending. Boise State cutting down the nets in Las Vegas as the conference tournament champions. Arians bullies his way inside to score.
1,000-point member at SDSU, and with Apple out, he's stepping up to the plate, getting some points for the Jackrabbits.
Close the book on that. Boise State last year started the season 3-4. Arians for 3. Boise State has closed down on shooters a bit better in the later parts of this first half, but a loose ball foul will keep it on this end. They get Degenhart. You saw it on the right side of your screen on what the officials thought was a hook.
Debatable. No, that's been an emphasis last year and this year with the hooking and the boxing out.
Yeah. We're going to get the hook and hold here. which will have Arians head to the line. Did they announce technical foul?
Sounds as if it was flagrant or tech foul with the hook and hold, just like you were talking about before.
Trying to see if there was anything added on. Another Bronco bench was active in voicing their displeasure. So we'll clean that up as Arians takes advantage with a couple of freebies to build up the 10-point lead. And the hook and hold results in the free throws, and don't think there's anything on top of that. Okay, trying to get you up on here. We're away from the scorers table, so we're not getting the explanation from the officials. Judging by what we're seeing on the stats monitor, it has a coach technical on Boise State, and then an administrative technical foul. So yes, on the Boise State sideline there. And Detlinger continues to add on points at the line. So a lot to clean up there. You had the foul away, which had the mechanics of the hook and hold. Boise State's bench clearly active in their dismay on the call. But when all the dust settles, Boise State's down 12. It's 6 straight points for South Dakota State.
Some tough calls at the defensive end of the end, but they've just got to keep it together, keep composure. 4 minutes left. Try to get to halftime with single digits.
Smith from Degenhart.
Great cut by Najee Smith. That's the energy he brings off the bench. Great cutter, can shoot the 3-ball, but his presence cutting to the rim, creating great shots.
Here's Boise State getting the stop, trying to push transition, taking advantage of early offense. Smith, baseline, fadeaway jumper, short. And Arians scoops up the rebound.
Jace Whiting entering the game. Freshman. I think he's going to have a great year this year. He's going to be coming off the bench, helping out Schaefer with the point guard.
Freshman out of Burley, Idaho. And there's an offensive foul. Max Rice draws the charge. As Broden Lean is the guilty party. Boise State trying to stay within striking distance, but South Dakota State up by 10. South Dakota State making their second trip to Boise in the last 5 years. 2018 NCAA tournament, a loss to Ohio State. The frequent Summit League champions with a tough opening slate, a couple on the road, one in Akron, lost in overtime. And then traveling here to Boise, the Mountain West champions giving them a test. But South Dakota State has the 10-point lead. Boise State going to work. Degenhart in the mid-post. Last year's Mountain West Freshman of the Year, unanimous winner, gets the hook to fall.
3 minutes left in the half. I'd say Leon really wants to get the ball inside, get Schaefer going, get Degenhart going, try to get some points on the board and lower this deficit for the Broncos.
Degenhart defends. William Kyle III, freshman, the hook shot, the answer. Just what Degenhart did on one end, William Kyle III does on the other.
Super impressive by Kyle, watching him start this game. Freshman, starting already. He's got a bright future here at the Jackrabbits.
Rice tries to turn the corner. Chisels his way towards the paint and flips it in. Boise State within 8. Last year, South Dakota State averaged 86 points per game. Most by a Summit League team since 1996. They turn it over here. Rice lines it up. The sniper knocks it down.
Jace Whiting with the assist. defense to offense here, and here comes the crowd for Boise.
South Dakota State's largest lead this half, 12. It's down to 5. And a reach-in called on Smith. It is the 10th team foul against Boise State, so a couple of free throws coming up for Dentlinger.
Jace Whiting really bringing a spark off the bench for the Broncos. Agbu in foul trouble with 3 fouls. He's really bringing a spark for the Broncos off the bench, leading into this halftime break.
Boise State sideline already called for a technical foul in this game, and Coach Rice doesn't seem to be any more pleased. Dentlinger makes the first, misses the second. It was an 80% free throw shooter last year. That Max Rice 3 was the first made 3 for Boise State this season. Going to work again. The senior too strong. And Smith doing what he always does, the hustle player off the Boise State bench. Can't save that one. Under a minute to play, opening half. Dentlinger bounce pass. Kyle with Rice reaching. Rice gets the ball, but then a knockdown by Mims, who's on the deck, and a tie-up. So that's great active hands each way. Rice and Mims. The arrow gives the ball to Boise State. See Jace Whiting scrapping as well. Whiting, an older freshman, had a 2-year LDS mission in Finland after his high school career at Burley. Shaver puts it on the deck and draws the foul, much to the disbelief of Alex Arians.
A lot more flow and connection with the Boise State offense. Really getting the ball from side to side. Started the game off, ball not really moving from side to side, a few quick shots, but you can see as the Broncos get through this first half, ball's really moving, creating these wide open lanes. Schaefer, Jace Whiting really to attack.
Both teams over the team foul limit in this first half, so an active whistle in the game's first 20 minutes. South Dakota State calls timeout. One of those in-between free throws timeouts. You see that more and more over the last couple of years.
More and more, and I'm sure, you know, he's just got to get his timeout out, otherwise he's going to lose it. So try to put him off a little bit, get some cold blood running through, and see if he can come out and miss the second one.
Does that matter? You're a shooter.
I think a little bit.
Okay.
I think the first one's always kind of rhythm, and then, you know, anything to break that up. Always like to shoot 2 in a row. It's always easier doing it that way.
How would you evaluate what you've seen from both teams in the first half?
Jackrabbits have come out and done a really good first half, obviously missing their best player, if not one of their best players, in Luke Apple, but you've seen some of the seniors, the older players for the Jackrabbits really step up. Mayo, Aaron's coming off. Broncos have looked a little sluggish to start, whether that's only having one game to start the season against Carroll College last week, but you know, they're going to go in the second half, make some adjustments, make some changes to come out in the second half and see if they can progress here from the end of the first half.
Well, Shaver does hit the second one after that longer stop-in, so it didn't matter to him. Kobe Young comes in for Boise State for this defensive possession, the redshirt freshman from Pasco, Washington.
Broncos coming up with some pressure. And they've done that a lot the first half. Something that Leon hasn't really done much over the last couple of years, but I think with the personnel and lineup out there, small ball, try and get some pressure on the Jackrabbits end of the half.
Shot clock, game clock, nearly the same. Arians against Smith. Clock down to 5. To the corner shooter, way wide from Mayo. That won't count. Smith didn't get it off in time. And South Dakota State takes the lead going into half, 36-31. They led by as many as 12 in the first half, with Boise State closing strong to pull within 5. Everything you could want in a season opener between two conference champions from a year ago. Should be a great second half to come from ExtraMile Arena. Halftime at ExtraMile Arena. South Dakota State, Boise State. One of the best games of the night in college basketball. One of the best games that we've had to this point all season. 2 NCAA tournament teams that won over 27 games from last season. You can see what they did in the first half of this one, where the Jackrabbits, they were one of the most efficient teams on offense last year. First half, 50% from the floor, 36% from 3, got to the line a bunch. They looked every bit that team that was so effective in the Summit League. The one thing, you know, that the Jackrabbits are circling are the turnovers, 11 of them. And that's way too high for Coach Eric Henderson.
I'm sure Henderson will address that at halftime, but other than the 11 turnovers, they've done a great job of moving the basketball. Obviously with Luke Apple out, one of their main offensive threats, out for the game tonight. They've done a great job of sharing the basketball, putting each other in great spots, and 36% from 3. They started the game a little better than that, but they've done a great job on the offensive end.
For Boise State, cold shooting the 3, just 1 for 8. They got to the line 14 times as well, positive sign to make 12 of them. But for Boise State, looking to pick it up, they were down as many as 12 points in the first half. They closed to within 5, setting up what could be a very fun second half between these two excellent programs. More from ExtraMile Arena at the half coming up next on the Mountain West Network. Jackrabbits back to their usual form from behind the arc.
Coming off an Akron game of 4 from 15. They've already hit 4 threes to start the game. As you can see, Mayo here shooting the 3 ball, 42% from last year. Had a slow game to start off, 1 from 5. But you can see ball movement, another 3 here. Mims hitting 3. It's an emphasis they're going to have this game, but also moving forward.
So the 3-point line, friendly to South Dakota State. On the flip side for Boise State, it's been Najee Smith doing, just like he did last year, a little bit of everything.
A little bit of everything, and with the 3 players from Boise State not coming back, it's really opened up some opportunities for the Broncos, and he stepped up. All we hear from the coaching staff on Najee Smith is he's energetic, he's a great teammate, and he works hard, and that's what he's been bringing to the Broncos tonight. Starting a little slow, but with him coming off the bench, 3 from 5, 6 points, we'll see a little bit more of him entering the second half.
One of my favorite stats from last year, Najee Smith, he played in 20 minutes or more in 11 games. Boise State was 11-0 in those games. So when he's doing those little things, it really helps Boise State get wins.
It's impressive, and 11-0 when you play more than 20 minutes, I'm sure the coaching staff has noticed that stat and trying to get him some more minutes in the game.
There you go. Second half coming up shortly from ExtraMile Arena with South Dakota State leading by 5. South Dakota State with the 36-31 lead at the half. One quick housekeeping note. Technical foul on Boise State in that first half was called on Mike Burns, the assistant coach from the Boise State bench. That was why you saw the 2 free throws there, added on to the 2 free throws from the hook and hold that the Boise State bench not happy about. So it was Mike Burns who picked up the technical foul. Boise State still down by 5. South Dakota State with the lead. Just take a look at the Mountain West Conference preseason poll. Wyoming returning a couple of key contributors. Graham E.K. in the middle, number 2. But number 1, San Diego State, the only team in the top 25 from the Mountain West. What stands out to you, Nick, about the preseason poll in the conference?
San Diego State bring back a lot of their guys with 16 first-place votes. Wyoming, I think they're going to be the sleeper this year, bringing back 2 key guys, Montanado and big center there as well.
Graham E.K. Yeah, he's
E.K. as well. So you're going to see some really top-class games here this year. Colorado State coming in 4th, but I think those 3 teams up the top there, San Diego State, Wyoming, and Boise State, are really going to lead the conference this year.
It's going to be competitive. Last year was one of the best basketball seasons that the Mountain West has had in a long time. And I know there's been some key members leaving, especially from Boise State and Colorado State. But given their profiles, what they've been able to put together year in and year out, you know that they're going to be ready to go when league play arrives, joining the likes of San Diego State and Wyoming, who return quite a bit. Should be a competitive group at the top, and you know a sleeper will emerge. Speaking of conference play, that's a whiles away. For Boise State, they still have a lot of non-conference to handle first. Remember, Boise State last year started the season just 3-4 before finding their form. And right out of the gate, you have this game against South Dakota State. Up next is the Washington State game. That's a couple of games against the KenPom top 130 right out of the chute.
It's a tough schedule to start for the Broncos. Obviously tonight SDSU, but Washington State Pac-12 conference component coming up, straight into the Myrtle Beach Invitational as well against Charlotte. And then on the back end there, as you can see, Texas A&M in the Battleground 2K 2022. It's a tough conference schedule for the Broncos to start out the season heading into conference, and a lot's going to be made here to start the season. A lot of newcomers in for the Boise State Broncos, filling the void of the 3 departures they've seen. So straight into it for the Broncos this year.
2K22, you play much NBA 2K?
Not a lot. Not much of a player.
Yeah, not much me either. Probably could be better. Well, the second half coming up from ExtraMile Arena. It's Boise State, South Dakota State, and a season opener for the Broncos. Second half to go. Buckle up. This should be a fun and wild second half from ExtraMile Arena in Boise. Chris Lewis, Nick Duncan with you. The first game of the year for Boise State, second game of the year for South Dakota State. First half riddled with a bunch of fouls. Both teams were over the team foul limit before the end of the half. Foul trouble will be a story. Chibuzo Abo for Boise State, 3 first half fouls. Charlie Easley, Matthew Moores, Zeke Mayo with a couple of fouls apiece for South Dakota State. We don't technically have a bongo cam at ExtraMile Arena, but that seemed kind of close to it. Getting ready to drum. Jamming out. Basketball for the first time in 237 days. Not counting the exhibition last week against Carroll College. Halfway there.
But exciting to get the season underway. Sure, Coach Henderson's going to be really happy with this squad entering the second half. Just got to continue to play the way they did the first half. Play some great defense, really put the Broncos in some awkward positions with their hedging on the pick and roll. And then on the offensive end, continue to share the ball, continue to shoot those threes, because that's a staple that won them a lot of games last year. It's going to continue that way as well if they continue this year.
South Dakota State can't overstate the opening of their schedule. It's tough against Akron, who won the MAC tournament last year, and against Boise State, regular season and tournament champions in the Mountain West. Dentlinger right to the rim to begin the second half, and South Dakota State is back up 7.
Straight back where they were. Great pick and roll. Not the way the Broncos wanted to come out, giving a cheap bucket.
All right, Lucas Milner is the Boise State starting center, limited minutes in that first half. But one of the things that is on his plate this year is filling that center void from Mladen Armush. Degenhart turns it over. We were talking to Mike Burns, the assistant coach, yesterday. He was mentioning how Armush was one of the best in the country at defending the pick and roll. And that time, on the last offensive possession for South Dakota State, they used the pick and roll to score. Do it again to draw Milner out, and Mayo hits a 3 in his face. So what are some of the keys to defending that high ball screen for a big man?
Well, Armush was great. He long arms, but he moved his feet really well and just used his kind of IQ to be able to be in the right areas at the right time, not overshow, be there and be able to retreat back to the defense. And, Mike Burns really gave a lot of credit to Armush. Obviously 7 points per game, 8 rebounds. Not a whole lot of stats, but he was an integral part of the success last year for the Broncos. And a major part they're trying to recoup into this year. As you can see, Degenhart in the middle, beating the buzzer for 2 points.
He was a major piece, too.
He was major.
Degenhart, the Mountain West Freshman of the Week 9 different times last year, more than anybody else combined.
Must have been a record, right?
In the Mountain West, a record. Dentlinger, a 3, bullseye.
Pick and roll to the hoop, but also can pick and pop to the 3, and great start here for the Jackrabbits. Second half, up by 11.
Yeah, 3 by Mayo, a 3 by Dentlinger, as well as that roll to the rim. An 11-point South Dakota State lead. Rice, step through move with the contact. That doesn't matter. Max Rice, who battled that hip injury throughout last season, really started the campaign rough, got it together by the end. He's healthy now heading into this year, and there's an offensive foul. Dagenhart outside of the charge circle again draws a charge, his second of this game.
We've seen it a lot last year, and he started off this game. 2 offensive charges taken by Dagenhart, and put the body on the line. That'll get the Broncos going here. Quick 8-point start for the Jackrabbits. That'll put a dent in it.
So it's a lineup quick out of halftime for Boise State that has Dagenhart as the nominal center.
Don't know about that one.
We got Smith also in, who can kind of be considered a big as well, but Milner heading to the bench early on to begin half number 2. Arians off glass, count it, and a foul.
Given to the crowd as well on the way out. Gotta love the energy, and Luke Appalati, he's really stepping up to the plate here. Great drive, getting to the line. 9 points there for the senior.
To add 3 boards and 3 assists for the steady, experienced guard out of Madison, Wisconsin. Timeout called by Boise State. A rough start to the second half. Zeke Mayo as Boise State trying to play catch up. The senior out of Arcadia, Iowa, Matt Dentlinger, has been the go-to guy of this second half.
Field goal leader for last year at 61%. Coming out strong with 6 of 8 last game, and starting this game 5 from 6, 1 from 1 from the 3-point line as well, doing it inside there in the paint, but also pick and pop here with a 3. So he's bringing some added value to the Jackrabbits, especially Luke Apple out, one of their main scorers, providing a spark for the starting 5.
Arians was fouled before the break, hits the free throw. South Dakota State tying their largest lead of the game at 12. How does Boise State counterpunch? Smith, mid-post. That drop step off glass hit the arm of Kyle. It's a goaltend. So Najee Smith gets the deuce.
Here comes some pressure from the Broncos. Treated them well in the first half. Trying to up the energy here. Get some stops going and try to go on a run here for the Broncos.
What are the keys to defending a team like this where they have shooters all over the floor, but then a post player in Dentlinger? As Mayo fires and hits, again his second 3 of the half, 3rd of the game for Zeke Mayo.
Not much you can do with that. It's impressive, but you really got to contain the ball and try not to make the help defense help too much in order to give kind of wide open 3s, but you just got to continue to contain the ball, put some pressure on it, get back to that 3-point shot if they pass it out.
Shaver tiptoeing the baseline. The Kobe fade goes.
Impressive move by Shaver that we saw all last season. Create off the dribble, off the pass. Very impressive play, and see if he can get the energy going here for the Broncos.
Arians pointed for Kyle to throw it to Mayo. He does eventually get it open. Mayo for 3. Front of the rim. Shaver on the run for Boise State. A rare miss for Zeke Mayo, and Shaver back-to-back buckets. But it looks like he's hurt. Down on the floor, grabbing his knee. But if you're on the South Dakota State side, you're wondering why a timeout was granted. You saw Eric Henderson, he kind of leaped up and said, hey, why was the stoppage given? And you shouldn't have given it. But regardless, the concern right now is for Shaver. I'll check him out when we return. Zeke Mayo putting up numbers from behind the arc.
His only shot from the 3 today, 3 from 7. Starting the season off a little slow for his liking, shooting 41% last year. 1 from 5 in that game, and tonight he's come up red hot, shooting 3 from 7 from the three-point line. And you'd like to see that continue if you're a Jackrabbits fan.
Mayo was a bucket getter at the high school level in Kansas City. Or really Lawrence, Kansas, to be exact. Boise State does get a stop it out of the timeout. Timeout was initially, I guess, granted, or a play was stopped because of the injury to Marcus Shaver Jr., who right now is on the Boise State sideline getting looked at. Najee Smith creates in traffic, and it's a 7-point game. Up top for Kyle, throws it down hard. Dentlinger found him.
It's his only second game, but I'm very impressed with what I see from freshman Kyle. Raw talent, but he's only going to progress throughout the year, and he's an exciting prospect for the Jackrabbits.
Well, Nebraska's second team in high school. Went to Bellevue West in Bellevue, Nebraska. Degenhart, Dentlinger, 2 great post players. Excellent reach, causes the tie-up. Alex Arians read it well. The arrow keeps it with Boise State.
Talking with the Boise State coaches prior to the game, you can really see Jackrabbits here really just suffocating inside. Easy tie up there. But that's what they're going to do. They really wanted you to kick it out, shoot some threes, keep you outside the paint. They did a great job there on that possession.
Shaver's back in, so just a couple of minutes in real time on the sideline. Really less than a minute of game time. Whiting delivers, just 2 to shoot. Degenhart rejected. Dentlinger climbs the ladder but throws it away on the outlet. Smith with the flush. It started with a steal. Smith paid it off. And then they get another steal. Jace Whiting, the freshman, delivers to Rice for 3. Bang!
Broncos coming alive here. See Coach Leon Rice putting some energetic players. Jace Whiting on the court, Kobe Young as well. Hadn't seen much time right now, but you can see here it all starts on the defensive end for the Broncos. If they get some stops, some turnovers, which Jackrabbits had 11 in the first half, a couple here in the second half, it's where they really take advantage of wide open threes for Max Wright. That's beautiful Bronco basketball right there.
As you mentioned, Nick, it starts with defense. Get a steal, leads to a dunk. Another steal leads to a transition 3. And all of a sudden, Boise State's within 4.
Look up, it's a 4-point game. And they've gone small ball here, which we've seen some bigger lineups here. But you can really see the emphasis on defense here. And you'll see some high-energy defense as well.
How flexible is this roster in terms of the different lineups? You mentioned small ball. You mentioned big ball.
You've got a lot of lineups that you can really try, and we've seen over the years with Leon, he likes to really kind of juggle them around and see what lineups really work, and you'll see him stick with this lineup, but you've got some tall blokes on the side here with Njenga, and as you can see here.
Zeke Mayo is on a heater.
Coming back, but he's got a lot of variety out here with the Broncos, and I think he's going to kind of play around with it here, and if he likes a lineup, he might stick with it for a couple minutes and see if he can get the Broncos going.
54-48, South Dakota State with the lead, 13:29 to go. And a whistle for a loose ball foul called on Boise State.
Zeke Mayo, performance is coming in hot right now, and if I was Jackrabbits, I'd go straight back to him and see if we can get some more offense out of him.
The only freshman on the Summit League newcomer team, Zeke Mayo, who's in the corner, top of your screen. Instead, pick and roll, middle of the floor. Arians and Dentlinger try to work it. Smith thinks it should be Bronco basketball. It is not. Oh, yeah. That one was clearly off of the 6'8" Matt Dentlinger. Arians draws the foul on Jace Whiting.
Love the aggressiveness Arians showed tonight. He's really come out a little bit more aggressive than last game. Loves to get to his left hand, but you can see the spin move here. To the line again. 6 from 7 so far tonight.
Points. You mentioned the free throw numbers in 24 minutes. He was 36 for 73 last year from 3, just a shade under 50%. Misses the free throw, so his second free throw miss, 87% from the line last year. Boise State with the ball down 7. Shaver shuffles. Degenhart, no! The unfriendly iron at Extra Mile. And the Jackrabbits just get into their offense so quickly, that motion. Mayo just threw it in the air, does draw iron, that's it. Rice, transition 3, bullseye!
Another 3 from Max Rice. Pushing the paint, finding the wide open guy. 2 from 3, and that make it 3 from 4 tonight.
He has a team high 16, leading both squads in scoring. Degenhart gets the interception. Boise State can pull within 1 possession with a bucket here. Rice, a healthy 3.
He wanted that one. Heat check a little bit.
Heat check, just another name for bad shot.
Exactly.
Arians draws the double team. Moore's turned down a wide open corner 3, and it leads to an offensive foul. Mayo called for the foul. Well-positioned Marcus Shaver. He looks to be completely healthy. That alley-oop was impressive for Kyle, but Smith on the other side can jam it as well. A good one here in Boise. Extra Mile Arena, happy that basketball is back and they can see Max Rice shoot it for another season.
Spoke with the coaches before this game, and they really harped on Max Rice last year, coming off hip surgery. Just wasn't himself, but you can see him coming out tonight. 3 from 5 for the three-point line, 16 points to lead the Broncos. He's just shining bright for the Broncos right now.
And Nick, to your point, Rice clearly not himself to begin last season. He started the campaign 1 for 21. Make that 1 for 24 from three-point range. Now, over the last 17 games, he shot 40%. But having such a rough start really hurt the numbers. This year, he says he's completely healthy. Staff says it looks like a different guy this year.
It definitely does, and it's always tough starting the year 1 from 24. It's never the best, but, coming off an injury, I had a 1 from 26 stretch in my career as well when I hurt my ankle, so it's always hard coming off injury, but by the sounds of it, he's put a lot of work in over the summer, working on the 3, and the Broncos are going to try and find him this year with, like we've mentioned, the 3 Broncos going out, Kejab, Armouche, and Emmanuel Acott, so he's going to get some shots this year, and so far, he's looking fairly well for the Broncos.
Yeah, the Boise State newcomers, not much production in this game. Whiting bringing the ball across the timeline. He hasn't scored. Nganga has 2. That's really it from the newcomers. Broncos only have 5 scorers in this game, and one of them, and Nganga, just has 2 points. Degenhart against William Kyle III. 5 to shoot. Degenhart crafty.
As you mentioned, the newcomers not providing much of a spark for the Broncos, but these returning players Schaefer, Degenhardt, they're going to lead the Broncos here in the second half.
Those 4 returners all in double figures. Degenhardt plays the defense there, gets the stop. He has 12 points. Whiting coast to the rim.
Jace Whiting providing a spark for the Broncos off the bench. Although he might only have 2 points, he's provided a huge spark on the defensive end, hustling around, creating this energy for the Broncos.
Ties it at 55 with 10:35 to go, and Shaver is called for the foul.
We'll reach in there by Schaefer. As we mentioned before, Leon Rice is not shy to kind of keep a lineup out here. And Jace Whiting, freshman. Najee Smith out there as well. He's going to keep this lineup out there, bringing the comeback here. 7-0 run for the Broncos over the last 2 minutes.
Bentlinger, front iron. A battle for the rebound, and it's a foul on William Kyle. 3rd foul on the Jackrabbits. It's the 2nd on the freshman. Boise stand a chance to take the lead. They're on a 7-0 run over the last 2 minutes. Have not led tonight. Degenhardt, more of a playmaker this year. Has it stripped away. Arians again with a paw on it. Mayo stops. And South Dakota State resets. Bentlinger jumps and fires. Easily pump fake into the paint. Mayo whips. Rice in the passing lane. Boise State a steal. A chance to take the lead for the first time tonight. Whiting. Fake DHO. Smith against Bentlinger. Degenhardt whips into the paint. Might have been tipped before Rice even had a chance at it. Mayo skies with a one-handed grab in front of the bench. Kyle, the freshman, he's strong down low. William Kyle, back-to-back strong games to start his South Dakota State career.
That's what the Jackrabbits wanted. Little run here for the Broncos. Trying to slow it down here. As you can see, Shaver, beautiful move.
Take him to the playground, Marcus Shaver Jr.
Really feel the energy here coming. Crowd's getting on their feet. Broncos making a run.
Tied at 57. We knew this would be a good one. 2 great teams meeting in the opener. Rice another steal. Boise State can take the lead. Shaver puts Boise State in front.
It's the defense as always. Defense coming back for the Broncos, creating offense. Fast break transition offense is always the easiest.
Kyle can't get it. It's odd how hushed the crowd got as Boise State calls the timeouts.
Few tired plays for the Broncos. I think Leon Russ has been playing this lineup here for the last 4 or 5. But as you can see, Jace Whiting bringing a spark for the Broncos here in ExtraMile Arena.
South Dakota State was leading this game 50-37. Since that point, Boise State over the last 8:30 has outscored South Dakota State 22-7. Strong defense. Max Rice getting into the passing lane a couple of times, leading to some runouts. And Boise State with the lead and the basketball. Rice, a healthy 3.
A healthy one at that. Agbu back on the court for the Broncos. Subbing in for Najee Smith, having a great run there for the Broncos.
It's the core of returners for Boise State, the difference. Degenhardt, Rice, Shaver, and Smith all in double figures. Mayo has had a smooth half. Tip back, up and in. Matt Dellinger. He's quite a player.
Great effort here by Detlinger on the offensive glass. He's had a brilliant game. Exactly what the Jackrabbits needed, just to kind of quiet down the Broncos here.
And if that's Abo on the foul, that would be his 5th.
Looks like it.
Indeed, it is. So the debut of the Texas Tech transfer came in with a lot of hype. Jabuzo Abo finishes in just 10 minutes, committing 5 fouls, going scoreless.
Not the start you'd want, but he's got to contribute on the bench right now. Still a lot of time left, 7 minutes in the game, so he's got to be a leader for this team, just like he was brought in for, and get these Broncos over the line tonight.
Dentlinger completes the 3-point play, and South Dakota State back in front. Jackrabbits won 30 games last year, ran the table perfect in the Summit League. The first team to ever go perfect in the Summit, and they will get a double dribble on Najee Smith.
Both teams winning a lot of games last year, so it's going to come down the wire, but as you can see, the little carry double dribble.
That was more the carry than the traditional like second hand on the ball double dribble.
Right. Broncos bringing some pressure again. Found some success with it.
Mayo, rise and fire in front of the rim. Shaver eyes up running the break. Arians, another great defensive play. He has excellent instincts. Read the passing lane. Dentlinger sees a crease. Moores, back to Dentlinger, size mismatch. Double comes, leaves open Moores, wants 3. Dagenhart pulls the board.
A few missed shots for the Jackrabbits, but they're playing great offense, spreading the ball around, trying to exploit matchups with the Broncos switching, but kind of a little zone here from Jackrabbits. I don't know if that's intended, but.
Milner, again, Arians knocks it away. He's everywhere. Ahead of the pack, Matthew Moores. But that was all set up with Alex Arians, who's been incredible on the defensive end.
Being a leader like he is a senior, 6-year senior. He's really stepped up today, providing a big spark for the Jackrabbits.
He only has credit for 1 steal, but he's been much more impactful than that. Shaver's fadeaway is well short.
Some tied Broncos out here. Jackrabbits really pile on the pressure here.
Boise State took a brief lead. South Dakota State had the response. Boise State hasn't scored in the last 2:40. Arians, that time the defense against him with Najee Smith. Shaver pounds the block and gets 2. He wanted a foul. Doesn't get it, but puts Boise State within 1.
He's a special player on the break, and he's got full range. As soon as he gets that defensive rebound, he's out, and it's where he's the best, open court.
And he's the best at the end of games. Remember, 4 clutch threes with under 30 seconds left to either tie or give Boise State the lead. Dentlinger, free throw line, Jay. That won't fall. Boise State can go in front with a hoop. The 5th year from Phoenix slows it down. 3rd year Bronco, a couple years at Portland. Smith, similar action to the carry that he had a few possessions ago. Flings it, just 5 to shoot. Shaver operating big shot shave mode. Front rim. Baylor Shireman, Douglas Wilson, a couple of losses from South Dakota State, but Mayo with a bigger role. He misses the 3. And Boise State with a chance to take the lead. Backdoor goes Rice. Shaver found him, and Boise State back up 1.
Beautiful play there. Open court. Got some guys out here playing some big minutes. Media type coming out.
Matthew Moores, no. All Shavers. Gets the bump. And an offensive foul. So Shaver gets called for the push-off. But he committed the great pass. A possession to go for Max Rice. They acknowledge each other as the Broncos in front. He scored over 1,500 points in his college career, and Shaver back for more.
Second half, Schaefer, right, seems to come alive every time, and Broncos are doing a conscious effort of getting the ball in his hands. As you can see, he's electric getting into the paint, especially on the open court here. That's what they're going to do, continue to get the ball into his hands down the stretch. Like you said, 4 game winners last year. The game's on the line, you know where the ball's going.
South Dakota State played an overtime game in their season opener. This is the first game of the year for Boise State. 1-point game, 3:37 left. Kyle, and one.
Aggressive move, just what the jack jumpers want. Great set play there. Kyle coming underneath. Really made an emphasis tonight to get him the ball in. Only a freshman, but strong move here. And one. To the line for one.
Najee Smith's 3rd foul. Kyle, the 4th jackrabbit in double figures, misses the free throw. What a way to start the season. A 1-point game down the stretch. Dagenhart was trying to post up. Great denial by South Dakota State. The slip and slide, Curly O'Neal-like for Shaver. He's been really battling lower body in this second half. Rice, oh my!
Massive shot from Max Rice.
A foul on the other end, but what a big-time jumper for the redshirt senior who went to Bishop Kelly High School, Max Rice.
End of the shot clock. Sure, that's not what Leon Rice wanted going up at the end of the shot clock, but 4 from 7 from 3-point land tonight. Shooting the ball with super confidence, and that's all you need as a shooter. See one go in, and
well, the foul is on Jace Whiting. For Boise State, it's team foul number 8. So the 1-and-1 for Zeke Mayo.
see Marcus Schaefer getting subbed off here. Found a few injuries or cramps here. Not what you want as a Bronco fan right now, seeing him off the court.
Front end goes for Mayo, so a quick reset. 18 fouls for Boise State, 3 team fouls for South Dakota State. Jackrabbits with 2 timeouts left. Boise State has 1 timeout remaining. Right now the arrow belongs to South Dakota State. Mayo, a 93% free throw shooter from last year, no surprise, makes both. Tied at 66. Whiting, the freshman from Burley High School, playing some big minutes for Boise State in this season debut. Defended by Mayo. Dagenhart. Last year's Freshman of the Year in the Mountain West. Your do-it-yourself kit. And it didn't hit the rim. Shot clock violation.
Broncos a little lost there. Schaefer on the bench, tending to some injuries, but try to get it to the Mountain West Freshman of the Year last year, but great defense by the Jackrabbits, getting the ball back. Tied game, 2 minutes left.
Yeah, we mentioned Marcus Shaver has been battling a lower body pain throughout this second half. He's by the scorer's table, ready to come in on the next whistle. Mayo, no room. Down to 9 to shoot. Arians, fade away. And Rice pulls in the rebound. A lot of fans leaning forward. Tense moments. Tied with 1:35. Degenhart for the lead. Whiting the O-board, and Boise State can reset. Only one timeout left. Again, Shaver on the sideline. He's the offensive initiator for Boise State.
Sure, Coach Rice right now would love to have an extra timeout here instead of using up his final one to get his main player back. But Max Rice from 3.
That one's short. So that was a tough possession again with Shaver on the sideline. And if you're the Jackrabbits, you just want to play. You have your ideal lineup in.
Big possession coming up here for the Jackrabbits. Getting close to 6 seconds left in the game.
Shot clock to 7. Bullet pass into the lane. Dentlinger has it tipped. And a rebound pulled in by Kobe Young. Again, Boise State with one timeout left. And Shaver on the sideline. They will use it now. With 39.6 left. Tied at 66.
As we were talking before the game, 2 winning teams last year, given exactly what we wanted to start off the season. Tied game with 40 seconds left. Talking to the Boise State coaches, this is where they won games last year. Last 4 minutes, defense won them the games, and entering into it, they were super confident. And heading into this year, they want the same out of their players with the final 4 minutes, and it's where they won a lot of games last year.
And Nick, one of the things that Mike Burns told us yesterday, the assistant for Boise State, he said, hey, this team that we have this year might be more skilled than last year. What we don't know is, does this year's team have the toughness of last year's team, the toughness to win seemingly every close game down the stretch?
And that was the word that was used last year so much about the Broncos, about how tough they were, getting on loose balls, their defense, how relentless they were. And that's the one thing, you know, they were 2-3 to start the year, and they learned that toughness over the course of the year. Do we see that here at the Broncos? We'll have to see for the last 40 seconds.
South Dakota State ran the table in the Summit League. But in their first game of the season, they fell in overtime to Akron, the champions from the MAC. And right now, all evened up with the champions from the Mountain West.
See what the Broncos come out of the timeout with. Sure, with Schaefer coming back on the floor, they'll try and set up a play with him, coming maybe off his right hand, trying to get into the paint. Try and get the closer to close the game again.
Shaver, 4 different clutch threes in the last 30 seconds of games to either tie or go in front for Boise State. Will it be a repeat in the season opener? Shaver off the Degenhart screen. Smith back to Shaver. Just 10 to shoot. Crossover, Shaver into the paint. He's blocked from behind, but a foul. Kyle got a piece of the ball, but it looks like a foul below on Matt Mims.
Exactly what the Broncos wanted, trying to get Schaefer downhill, entering the paint, and drawing the foul on Kyle, the freshman.
The 4th team foul against South Dakota State, shooting 2 for a 77% free throw shooter from last season. He'll get another. South Dakota State with 2 timeouts left. They'll take one here. The Jackrabbits with still 2 more fouls to give. Boise State with 18 fouls.
Sure, Coach Henderson's getting the boys together, trying to ice Schaefer, but they're going to have an opportunity here. 23 seconds left. At worst, they're going to be down 1. And they're going to try and get the ball in the best hands. And I assume this play might be for Mayo and have a chance to win the game here at the end of the ball game.
So you have Marcus Shaver in the middle of that huddle. By the way, possession arrow currently belongs to South Dakota State. As a teammate, do you talk to him? Do you not? I mean, it's such a big free throw. You know, they say with kickers, you don't want to talk to them when they get ice.
I agree
Does that
with
matter
that.
with a free throw shooter?
I agree with that. I'd let him go. He's been in this situation so many times before, and give him some confidence, but don't make him think too much about it.
Jackrabbits with 1 timeout left. Shaver to put Boise State in front. He's short, 0 for 2, and South Dakota State with the ball. Shot clock turned off. A chance to win it in regulation. Zeke Mayo against Shaver. Boise State does not have a foul to give. 5 seconds. Arians carves it to the paint. Lobs for Dentlinger. 2 seconds. He lays it in with .9 left to put South Dakota State in front. Matt Dentlinger.
What a play. Get the ball. Start off the play in Mayo's hand. Double team there on the pick and roll. And Aaron's just driving the paint and find the open guy. I mean, that is a textbook play to end the game. No fadeaway. No three-point shot. Get it inside. Get a 90% shot right there. 0.9 seconds left. Not much the Broncos can do, but they'll draw up a play to try and throw the ball down court and try and get a last-second three off.
It's interesting. Boise State did not have a timeout left, but the officials blew the whistle to check on the clock. Timeout was not called by South Dakota State.
Free timeout here for the Broncos, and Coach Rice won't be declining that. And they'll be trying to get a long court pass to Najee Smith and try to feed it out to one of their three-point shots, and I don't even know if they'll have enough time for that. So Leon Rice, he has his plays, and 2 seconds left, 5 seconds left, 10 seconds less. You know, he's got all the plays there, so he'll have a play in mind and try to get Max Rice or Schaefer wide open for a three, see if they can do something here at the end of the game.
You're right, though, about this gift. What a gift this is. I mean, under normal circumstances, when you don't need to check on the clock, that ball goes through the net. You got to come up with what you want to do in 0.9 seconds to go. But now you get the opportunity to use that clipboard to draw something up. Again, odds not in their favor. South Dakota State, how about that execution? Off the missed free throw from Shaver, they knew exactly what they wanted to do. Mayo to Arians to Dentlinger, he got it. They put on 0.4 of a second, so 1.3 left.
I mean, you couldn't have scripted any better here for the Jackrabbits. Driving the paint, Arians, some big plays tonight. He's really stepped up. 1.3 seconds, see what the Broncos drew up in the timeout. Schaefer with the ability to run side to side, and
wonder if you'll see the alignment if you're South Dakota State, then call timeout. That's indeed the situation. They see what Boise State is aligned in. They have 1 timeout left. Though the officials haven't clearly signaled that a timeout was called. Indeed it was. Now we get it. Timeout called by South Dakota State.
South Dakota calling the timeout after seeing what Coach Rice alignment here on offense. Max Rice under the rim, Schaefer also down the court. So I'm sure they'll be picking and choosing where they want to put their defense here in the last play.
So for a coach on the defensive side, is this one where you would defend the inbound or use the extra defender to roam around?
It's a tough one because depending who you put on the ball, you can really disrupt the defender. Now with 1.3 seconds left, you can always put him back there in the back half of the court and really create either 2-on-1 on Schaefer and make sure he doesn't get the ball, or just be a real disruptor in the middle of the paint. So be interesting to see what he goes for, but I always think getting some pressure on the ball, making that pass really difficult instead of having a free wide open kind of throw down the court, and that's essentially where the Broncos want to get that ball with 1.3 seconds left.
Najee Smith with Shaver, Whiting, Degenhardt, and Rice.
This is interesting. Schaefer taking the ball out. I would have thought maybe he'd try to be down the court a little bit, maybe at half court, try to get him on the run with the screen with Najee Smith. But it seems as if he won't be taking the last shot unless it's a quick throw back to him, but not the shot you'd probably want to be taking.
1.3 left. Down 2. Rice from half court for the win. No. And then he's grabbing his calf. And he's on the floor outside the three-point line. A disappointing ending for Boise State in a number of ways, but for South Dakota State, what a big road win. They come into Boise fresh off a loss to Akron in overtime in their season opener, and they get what will likely be a very valuable win for this team moving forward.
This will be a win in next March where they'll be looking back and putting on their resume, but what a tenacious effort coming off a Monday night overtime loss to Akron and coming out here on the road against Boise, conference champions last year. As you can see here, the stats, 47% from the field, 39 from 3. You can see that uptick there from last game, and 17 from 23 from the free throw line. They did everything right tonight, and what a win for the Jackrabbits.
Matt Dellinger with 1.3 seconds left, the game-winning layup set up by the pass from Alex Arians, and that's how South Dakota State goes to 1-1 on the season. For Boise State, a tough opening game, they drop the season opener. One more look at the last play. Yeah, the more concerning thing than the miss is what happened afterwards with the lower body there. It looked like holding on to his calf.
Absolutely, and you know, you can put that in with Marcus Schaefer as well, looking like and having some lower leg injuries there, whether that's cramps or you know, some actual physical injuries there. But you know, tough loss to start the year, and you know, next game's going to be just as tough with Washington State here at a neutral site game in Idaho.
Yeah, that'll be a fun one. What a way to begin the year, though. An entertaining game, plenty of big shots down the stretch. It was South Dakota State who hit the biggest shot down the stretch after a couple of missed free throws from Marcus Shaver Jr. You can see the next game there, Boise State Saturday against Washington State. For Nick Duncan and our entire crew at the Mountain West Network, Chris Lewis signing off from Extra Mile Arena. South Dakota State with a 2-point win against Boise State.